Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Don't Kill the Messenger. And on today's episode, I have a very special guest, someone I met a few months ago, and we're going to be talking about speaking, right, and how that can explode your business. So now, this expert here, he helps coaches, speakers, and experts really get a steady stream, or just not just a steady stream, but like a really good influx of people coming in, of clients with speaking. And there's a specific way to do it. It's an art form. You have to know how to do it. However, before we begin, if you're looking to additionally add something else to that speaking, right? So once you speak and people convert, and getting them to get even more people that were already there that just weren't ready, then head on over to ventobot.com/book to get your free copy of the complete automation strategy, the 4 phases we use with our private clients to generate never-ending leads. Now, I welcome in my guest, Jase Souder. Hey, Jase, how you doing today?
It's so good to be on. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, awesome. No, I'm super excited about this conversation. I know for sure we met and you spoke, and I was like, I gotta have what this guy's talking about, and I immediately invested into the program, and it was like without a doubt, right? So it just shows you what it's like to really have a really good speech and stage presence. And I know you're gonna really dive into that today and really break some myths that people have.
Thanks, Victor. You know what? You're in the world of running ads. Can I tell you a statistic we just had come in?
Sure.
Right now we're running first time ever. Okay, back up. 99.999% of my clients have come through speaking. As we talk, please don't like faint when I tell you this, but as we talk, I currently don't even have a website.
Okay, that's funny. I talk about that all the time. Like, you don't necessarily need one to run a business. People like think like, oh, I need a website to be like professional. And like, I mean, you can when you're ready, but you don't need it to get started.
No, you don't. And so 99.9 has come. I'm just now getting my website set up and putting my membership site up because I want to touch more people, help more lives. And so right now, for the first time ever, I'm running Facebook ads. You know, we're doing the whole ad to, they opt in to watch a video, and then they go from that to the booking. And the video I put together is like 25 to 30 minutes long. And right now, 58% of people are finishing the video.
That's awesome.
Going to the booking page. So that's a pretty good number, right?
Yeah.
You understand? Awesome. So yeah, speaking, I'm so passionate about it. Thanks for having me on. I love working. Can I share my why before we kick off?
Sure, let's do it.
So I think more than anything, and I think if you're a coach, an expert, if you're a speaker, whether or not you relate to yourself as a speaker, if you're someone who wants to make a difference in the world, if you're someone who wants to grow your business, public speaking is the #1 fastest way to grow your business. It's also the #1 fastest way to change the world. And by public speaking, I mean on stage, but I also mean what we're doing right now, a podcast, a webinar, a virtual summit. Those are all public presentations, and that's how you do it. So my why is I believe that you have a God-given mission that only you can do. I believe you probably have like a message for the world, and your mission could be fulfilled and funded through your business. So what's been laid on my heart is to teach people who want to make a difference in the world how to use public presentations to change the world. So Victor's changing his portion of the world, and I'm changing my portion of the world, and Sarah's changing her portion of the world, and Natalie her portion. Together, we're making the world a better place. And when you learn how to rock seminars and webinars, you make a ton of money that you can then reinvest in your business, into marketing, and then it gets you more influence in society. I say, tell me if I'm going too long, but I call it I cubed. The goal with speaking is I cubed. The first I is impact. You want to share things that makes an impact in people's lives and makes their life better. You also want to impact their heart, like get a tear, get them laughing and crying. The second I stands for income. When you impact people's lives, they'll spend more money with you. That's income. And then when you multiply impact by income, you've touched more people's lives, so they're open to you. They've spent more money with you. Now you have more influence, and now you have more influence in society. And the more influence you have, now it multiplies the more times you have an opportunity to make more impacts and income. And then that multiplies, and then you have more money to shape culture, to buy more ads, etc. So that's what we're talking about is IQ, impact, income, and influence.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's a gold nugget in and of itself. And I think a lot of people run into that. They're kind of like, well, I can't afford to invest in this right now. And like sometimes at the very beginning, you kind of have to stretch yourself just a little bit so that you can actually make that influence and make it back so that you can reinvest back into it. And as you grow, you start to just get more and more of that. I love it.
Yeah, so let's, you were talking about before the call about sponsoring and all that. This whole sponsoring to speak is all new for me. So I don't know how old I look now, but I used to have a baby face, and I started speaking like 20 years ago. And when I started, it was all profit share. So what would happen is I would get on a stage, and I sold a $2,500 program, and I'd split that with the promoter. So for every course I sold for $2,500, I make $1,250. They'd make $1,250. But the reason it was worthwhile for me to do that is because they spent the time and money and energy to get my ideal clients in the room. And so even today, I still speak on some stages on a 50-50. Let me just run numbers I've done in the last couple of years. There's this one stage I speak on like every February. There's about 250 people in the room. And if you close 20% of the room, you're doing great, and you'll be invited back over and over and over. So 20% of 250, 50 people at $1,000 product is 50,000. And then I split that with the promoter. So he gets 25,000. I get 25,000. That's not a bad payday at all.
Not at all. Nope.
One day speaking. And then beyond that, more important than that though, I now have 50 people who have brought my product or my coaching, or if I'm doing a workshop, are going to come to my workshop. And then we have the chance to sell them ultra high. The model is you want to sell them anything, whether virtual, online, or whatever. And then when COVID passes and we can do live events again, drive them to a live event or a live webinar, and then sell your ultra high ticket, which is your 15, 20,000 plus package. That's the model the most successful people are doing. Sell them whatever price, and then you drive them to the live event. And when they're at the live event, you've already paid your marketing cost to get them there, and everything you sell is profit. So now you sell your $20,000 package and you're making like really huge money. I don't know if I just went too far on that, but.
No, I'm definitely glad you touched on that, because especially at the beginning of why you focus so much on the profit share, the 50%, because I feel like a lot of people have this misconception of like, I have to get paid to speak on stage, otherwise I won't speak or anything like that, and that's how they make their money, right? Yeah. Whereas you're talking about if you split that initially, that brings people into your world. And I think the people that don't have that back end set up that allows people to get elevated through their products and services so that they can work with them on a much more intimate level. That's why they're thinking on that short term of like, oh, I have to get paid, otherwise I won't speak or anything like that, right? Or won't do the profit share or anything like that. But that's, like you said, 25K for you and for the promoter, that's a great payday for everyone. And then that helps those people that actually invested as well, because then they're obviously moving forward because they know it's what they need next to help their business move to that next level.
Exactly. So, and then the profit share ones are kind of going away. So now it's more like the pay to play, which is the sponsorship, which if someone's new and they don't have a track record of speaking, people might go, well, why should I pay thousands of dollars? Well, it's new to me, and here's why I do it. So we met at an event, and I paid a sponsorship fee, a multi-$1,000 sponsorship fee. The way I think about it is this. If you're going to get clients, you're going to have an acquisition cost. One way or the other, there's going to be client acquisition costs. So
always.
I've paid sponsorships where, how about I run numbers on one? I won't say what stage it was, but this was a very successful one we did. The sponsorship itself was $12,500. I think it was supposed to be a little bit more, but they gave me a discount. And I spoke on stage like 10 minutes, and it was 300 to 400 people. And then I had a booth the whole time. So that's a big outlay, including travel and hotel and my staff. It was like $18,500 total costs. Well, at that one sponsorship, I helped a friend that we have in common. Before she went on stage, I gave her some speaking tips, and she got some clients out of it. And I kept in touch with her. And about a year later, she came to one of my events, and she wound up sponsoring, and then she joined my highest level program. So she invested at $18,000. And then someone else I had met at that same event that I sponsored, it came into my highest level program at $18,000. And then since then, she's bought another $10,000 worth of stuff. So now we're up to 28, 30, 46,000. Right. And then from the first woman I told you about who was sponsoring, she referred some other people to me who spent another 25,000. So I did the math recently, and that one sponsorship got us just under $100,000 in business. So
that sounds awesome.
Is it a stretch? But the thought process is this. how long would it take to do 300 sales presentations? Probably 300 hours, right? Because by the time you set it up, you get on the phone, you hang up, or put out the money and get right in front of 300 people at once. And then the part that people don't think about as much is, I think everyone should have a book, but a book doesn't make you money. A book establishes you as an authority so that you can get on more stages, make more sales. A faster way to get authority than that is simply being on stage. When one is on stage, there's an implicit granted authority, and so people think you're an expert. And so when you learn how to speak, whether it's on a webinar or a live stage in person, people think you're an authority, and what that leads to is you get to cherry pick clients, you get better clients, and you could charge more for your product or service, or charge the same and get more clients all at once.
Yeah.
This is making sense?
Absolutely, yeah. No,
Cool.
and it's true, because I mean, like you said, it really does, and I think it's because most people think short term, right? They're like, well, I upfronted the 12.5 and I didn't see anything initially, right? Well, the name of the game, I mean, I'm sure you could speak to this, is like, first, yeah, you want to definitely break even, if not more, in profit on that event, but on the back end, it's going to pay off even more.
Yep. So that implies we need to develop a back end, right? And
exactly, yeah.
can I give a quick tool on that?
Sure.
Here's how to come up with a back end, you guys. If you help someone go from point A to point B, if you help enough people, you know where they are at point B and what they're going to need to go to the next level. So for instance, here's how we've developed our higher level coaching programs. At first, I was helping people write their scripts. And so now they have a great script, but they didn't. So now I know they know what to say to create business, but that doesn't mean they're entertaining. And what I've learned is you have to get people laughing and crying, or people tune out and your message doesn't land. So then I realized, okay, people need to learn how to move on stage, how to tell stories, how to be funny, the tool of comedy. So we developed Comedy Camp for people. Really, now people have a script. Now they have great delivery, but sometimes they would get stuck in their head, or they wouldn't shine, they wouldn't be radiant, and they wouldn't like pop on stage. So we developed a 4-day growth intensive to put people through so that they'd be on fire. So now we know, okay, they have script, they got delivery, they're on fire. Now now they need more stages. So now we're like, okay, how do we teach them how to get on more? So what'll happen is, as you put people through your process, you'll know naturally what they need, because you'll be in touch with them and you'll be seeing from the expert's point of view, okay, they're here, they need this training to get to the next level. And either you do it yourself, or go find someone like Victor to come in, or find someone like me to come in and teach them that next phase. And that's how you start to put together your richer. And I really think you're serving people more when you give them more to step into, because I would rather have my people buy through people that I know, trust, and love than some stranger that they've never heard of.
Yeah. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because I talk about this specifically all the time, with this whole, we live in this world of information, right? There's this infobesity that kind of gets spread.
Infobesity.
Yeah. And like, I say that because when you think about it, you know exactly what it means when I say it, right? It's like the consumption of information without actually applying anything. And I think without having those levels to get people to step into, we're overwhelming somebody. We're giving them infobesity, and it's saying like, here's everything. I'm just going to vomit it on you. And then you're like, good luck. Whereas having the different levels allows them to very effectively get this result. They take an action, they associate that result and win with you. Then here's the next level, do this next. They take that action, get the result. They associate that win and action with you. And you just keep going. And like you said, you're serving them better because you're able to actually get them all the way to the finish line. Whereas if you're anything like me, you know that in this world of today of infobesity, a lot of people stay stagnant because they're like, I don't know what to do next.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm such a fan of live events and community, whether live events is, we just did a 2-day intensive online because we meet in person. And there's something about the power of a group coming together, journeying together. There's a homeostasis to it. There's a status quo. There's a momentum to it that happens with people that I just love. And people want community. You know, we get hurt in community, we need to heal in community, no matter what it is we're learning, whether it's internet marketing or speaking or weight loss. community is an integral part of our journey. And the more you can put community into it, there's a really cool thing too, Victor, that happens as you get your community big enough, your community starts to sell your community. So
Yeah.
like, my highest level speaker training is called Black Belt Speaker Training. And we actually, did I ever show you the pins? We actually have pins.
You showed it to me at the live event. I've seen it before. I know what you're talking about. They're super cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I have one right here. So we actually have these pins that we award people as they rank up. And so, you know, everybody starts as a white belt and they go yellow, orange, and it gives them a progression to go through, right?
Yeah. And for those of you listening, it's a pin of a microphone with a belt around it, right? It's as it progresses, the colors go up in the progression to signify that they're leveling up.
Yeah. So here's my black belt with a belt. And by the way, this is a happy accent. That looks like a globe because it's about speaking changes the world.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
So what's happened now though is we've created a culture where as people rank up, they come back and teach and help and they assist. And so what happens is they've gotten so much out of it when people come that they'll just share what they're getting out of it for the people who are there for the first time. And without being salesy, the community is selling the program. And so when you get the right, but what's underneath that is we deliver massive, massive value. So I think for everyone watching, if you're wondering, like, how do you put together your speech? How do you put together a long-term coaching program? Start asking yourself, how can you deliver the most value to people? And there's a lot of psychological triggers, and I don't know how much time we have to talk about actual speaking itself. Mm-hmm. Putting together the body of your presentation is the easiest part. And here's how I would coach people to put together their body. Let's suppose you have an hour on stage, 15 minutes is your intro, 30 is your body, 15 is your call to action. If someone paid you $10,000 to teach for 30 minutes on your topic, what would you tell them in that 30 minutes? And pretend you're not allowed to upsell. What info would you tell people in that 30 minutes? And that's what I want you to start teaching people, because that's probably the richest, best information. And the more good people up, the more they're going to want from you later on.
Yeah, I love it. And this goes back to something I say all the time. Like, if you can make your free stuff that good, everyone what they're going to be thinking is like, if this is their free stuff, what is their paid stuff like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So to talk a little bit more about, I feel like that was a great segue into kind of just talking about presentations that really help you to actually convert, right? Because there's speaking just to speak. And I consider that like Facebook Lives, if you don't ever have a call to action, which I believe you always should. But if they were actually on some type of virtual event right now, just to stay relevant, or later on when live events are going to be that much more powerful, if they start doing those, like, how can they create that presentation to really knock it out of the park?
Awesome. So there's three parts to your presentation. There's the intro, the body, and the call to action. So I'm just going to riff real fast. Is that okay?
Sure.
By the way, before I go into this, this is hard-won information. The first time I spoke and sold my old stuff back in 2004, I did almost 98,000 in sales, but I had no idea why it worked. And then other times I bombed. And what happens when you're profit sharing, and back then it was all profit share, if a promoter puts me on and he gets half of my 98,000, he just made 49 grand. He's like telling all his buddies, this dude just made me 49,000. But on the other hand, I had times I bombed. And so they're telling all their buddies, this dude just made me nothing. And I put him on my, right? So I spoke at this one guy's event and I goose egged. I totally bombed. And the promoter sends his assistant to take me to dinner. And I'm like, oh, the assistant's going to like give me a pep talk, right? And the assistant's being all awkward. He's kind of an awkward dude anyway. But during dinner, he's looking at me and he finally goes, we'd like to invite you not to come back. That was a horrible pep talk.
Yeah.
But worse than losing that one stage, now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this promoter is going to tell every other promoter I stunk. And even today, with paid sponsorships, if one stinks on stage, then the whole event goes down in quality. And so they want to know you're going to rock. So I have stages that I used to pay for that now they put me on free. I have people who will put me on other things that other people have to pay for, but because I can deliver, they'll put me on for free. So I had like this, and it's not that I just made zero. And when people sponsor, it's not like they might just sell zero. It costs travel and energy, plus our heart and our hopes. And so I actually made negative. So I was doing this, and I just got sick of it. And then finally, I had been writing my home study kit on one-to-one sales, and all sales started and one-to-one. This is really critical. If you haven't mastered one-to-one sales, it's almost impossible to master selling from stage. But selling from stage is like one-to-one plus. You have to learn one-to-one and then learn a whole bunch more, because I had mastered one-to-one, but I didn't master the stage thing. So I was like, I'm going to figure out what I'm doing wrong when I bomb, and what am I doing right when I rock. And I'd been studying social psychology and group dynamics and sales and influence and all of these things about how like there's a neural network of people and how to elevate yourself and how to establish authority and all this stuff. And I created this template. Did I ever tell you this story, Victor? I don't know if you heard me, but anyway,
I don't think so.
I created a system for speaking. I put together this template, and it's not say this word, it's cover this psychological trigger, so that you can get all the psychological triggers into the yes position, so people say yes to your offer. And it like obliterates objections, all that stuff. So I met this guy, and he's got a big, like 250, 300 person stage. And he's like, I'm going to give you an audition in front of like 75 of my top people, but you're not allowed to sell. And I'm like, all right. He's like, you got to pay your own travel and you can't sell. I'm like, all right. So I go there, and I use the system I created, and I like knocked it out of the park. I had people laughing, crying. It was great information. And at the end, instead of having a call to action, I just like read a poem, right? So the promoter comes over to me and goes, let's sell your stuff. And I'm like, I thought I wasn't supposed to sell. And he goes, you rocked it. Let's sell your stuff. So we made an offer, and I sold as much product. I was selling my home study kit on sales. I sold as much product that day as 25% of my previous year's income. And then he put me, so then at the end of the day, he's like, hey, let's talk. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I'd like to invite you. And I'm like, I just heard that phrase, and it didn't turn out well. And he goes, I'd like to invite you to speak on my stage 4 times a year. I'll pay you monthly to coach my people, and you can sell your stuff. So needless to say, I rocked the audition. I got on his big stage of 300 people, and I sold as much product in that one day as 50% of my previous year's income. So 2 speaking gigs using the system I created, I did 75% of my previous year's income.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's the simple power of what it can do when you do it right.
Yeah, totally. So here's some thoughts. When you're taking the stage, the audience has 4 questions. Who is this person? Do I like them? Do they like me? And does this matter to me? So our 4 goals when we hit the stage are rapport, interest, authority, and train and inspire the audience. And I unfortunately don't have time to go more than the intro, but I'll say this. If you rock your introduction, you can have sales. Like I've had someone tell me that they saw me speak they said that 10 minutes into my presentation, Greg leaned over his business manager and he said, whatever this guy's selling, we're buying. So your 4 goals are rapport, interest, authority, train, and inspire the audience. So you want to, first thing is get them saying yes, that they're interested in your presentation. You want to be likable and get them to like you. You want to establish why you're the authority and someone that should and could be listened to. And then you want to train and inspire them. And what I mean by that is, do you want questions? If you're doing a presentation that's 90 minutes or less, you need to hold questions till the end. If you're doing a presentation over 90 minutes, you probably want interaction and make it more workshop style. And then inspire the audience means your audience has to be taught how to overcome their objections to life. And typically, if you tell your story correctly, you've overcome hardships, you've overcome hangups, you've overcome mental and emotional challenges, financial challenges, and that's made you into the business owner you are today. And when you share that story, it teaches people how to overcome their mental, emotional, and financial challenges. And what's really cool is it does 2 things. 1, it teaches them how to have the life they want, but then 2, it teaches them how to be the person they need to be to say yes to your offer at the end of the presentation. Because what stops them, because what stops them in life is what will stop them from buying from you. So you're actually doing them a huge favor by giving them like a motivational speech that results in buying your product, because not only will they have your product or service, they'll now be better equipped to take on their life. I feel like I'm talking too much now.
No, definitely. I mean, like these interviews specifically are meant to really allow you to really dive into this, right? Because I know what I know very well. I don't know things, which is why I originally invested with you, right? Speaking, that is not my area of expertise. I know it's yours. So that's why I invite people like you on here, because I want to be able to have my audience actually listen and learn from it as well. Because I can only show them so much as far as the ad side of things and how to attract, engage, elevate, and convert those people online. But there is a much more impactful thing that happens when you're in a live event. And I feel like when all of that is back and available, they're going to be that much more powerful.
Right? People aren't going to be like, oh, I got to travel. People are going to be like, oh, I got to go.
Yeah, exactly.
You said something critical, though. I coach people on this. I don't want people to be just speakers. I want speaking to be one of many marketing vehicles and one of many delivery vehicles. So what I believe is when someone learns how to crush it in one-to-one sales and how to use public presentations, then when they plug in with someone like you, they're going to be so much more effective, because either they can have a video sales letter that leads to the appointment, or just when they get that opportunity to sell one-to-one, it's a presentation. And the dynamics of selling on stage, you can put into that one-to-one presentation and close way more sales. So it's just so critical. So can I give the formula for a profitable presentation?
Yeah, let's do it.
So it's real simple. It's CC times DD times U. And what that means is, to crush a presentation, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, the first thing is compelling content. And I mentioned psychological triggers. The way I imagine it is, there's 10 switches and they're in the off position. And in the audience, you have to get all 10 switches flipped up into the on position and in the right order for the sale to be made. If you get 9 out of 10 switches up, the lights don't come on and you make no sales. And that used to be where I was. So the psychological triggers, like the authority, the interest, all of that, have to be up. And you have to have a structure for doing that. So that's called compelling content. Now, if we give someone the best content in the world, but they're boring, they'll make no sales. So dynamic delivery. So it's compelling content times dynamic delivery. And the way to measure your delivery, it's laughs equal sales. So the more you get a laughing and crying, or like that, like when someone's like that misty, like you touch their heart,
Yeah.
the more you do that, the more sales you make. So it's compelling content times dynamic delivery. And then the most important part of your presentation is you. What's in you, and I'm talking to people, our friends.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
What's in you is expanded on stage. So if you're insecure, it's expanded. If someone's selfish, it's expanded. If they're really there to serve, it's expanded. If they're confident, the audience feels it. They can measure the magnetic frequency of the heart. They have things they can do it from like 12 feet away. But I think humans can feel someone else's heart way further. And when you're on stage, there's something that happens. Plus, if you've ever read the book EQ, Emotional Intelligence, they have found that when one person's talking and another person's listening, the person listening automatically and subconsciously will mirror the body language of the speaker. And it's automatic that it happens. And the reason they do it is the listener is mirroring the person's body language, because if you mirror someone's body language, you'll pick up their emotional state, and that fleshes out the richness of the communication. So what I say is, in a live speaking event, if your audience is automatically mirroring and picking up your body language, then what's in you as an emotion is contagious in the audience. So it automatically ripples out. So one of the most important things for speakers to do is to get on fire, to get excited, to get popping. And the most dynamic anyone can ever be is by being authentic, by dropping the barrier between. Here's how I'll put it, Victor. I believe great speaking is saying to the audience, I love you, and giving them the chance to hurt you, but without saying the words. It's about dropping the barrier between your heart and your audience's heart, and really letting yourself out and letting them in. And that's how you change the world. The only way you'd really change the world is with kindness, gentleness, and vulnerability. People have had the crap kicked out of them themselves. Those people are like, I'm going to coach you, kick you in your butt. Have fun. I don't need that. I kick myself in the butt too much as it is.
Yeah. Right.
Love. They need to be built up. And if you can build people up and inspire them by touching their heart, by letting them feel your heart, that's when you really do your job as a speaker. That's when you change lives. And that's what speaking's about. It's inspiring someone to take on a new life. And in the space of that inspiration, then you offer your product or service.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's definitely, I mean, like, hearing that, I just thinking back to when we first met, and why I invested with you is because of everything you just mentioned, right? You were vulnerable to the point, like you were talking about certain things, and I knew, I was like, this is like the next version of my business, right? There was like, I've mastered online, I'm good at it, where I can do it for other people. What's next? How can I help even more people, right? There's still people that need that interactive live presentation, and that is why I was able to immediately attracted to you as opposed to anyone else that was there.
That's such a huge honor, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you got the heart, right? So like when you're watching, you get Victor's heart. Like you get this guy cares, and that's 95% of the battle. Now when we marry that up with great scripting and delivery, look out, baby. But yeah, that's when you said the next level, you already have a successful business. It's then leveraging that into the public presentations is where you get to do the let me rewind what I mentioned. So where we met, right? There was 30, 50 people? How many?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
I don't know how many were there, right? But so let's suppose 30. So I get on stage I'm there for 3 days, networking, connecting, which was awesome, made great connections, got to be on this show. But then when I did my presentation, I made an offer, and so I'm doing 30 simultaneous sales presentations. And they're more impactful and powerful because I'm on stage. So I don't think I was the highest. She limited the price point I could sell for, but I had the most people sign up for my course out of anyone there, I believe. And so the more important thing, though, 30 new contacts, and then I think 6 people invested. So those 6 people will now come to a program, and then we have a chance to create a longer journey together as well.
Mm-hmm.
But most important, impacting lives. And this is what's next for you, I think, and for the people watching. When you start to leverage public presentations, you change 3 things. And this is what I'm super excited about. You ever have like a thought, Victor, it's rummaging, and then finally it pops, and you're like, that's it?
Yep.
This is the thought that's been rummaging. When you speak, you change 3 things: your business, the world, and yourself. And here's why. Speaking changes because that's where you can sell the super high ticket items. That's where you sell the $20,000 programs, the $25,000 programs. Speaking is where you go high ticket. And talking about levels of speakers, an average speaker can maybe sell a $500 coaching package. A good speaker, $1,000. A world-class speaker, that's where we're doing the $15,000, $20,000 and up packages. So when you learn how to speak really, really well, and be what we call a world-class speaker, that's when you do the $20,000 note packages. So you can make really big checks, or if you're doing a profit share like I talked about, or one of my clients, I don't know if it's okay to say her name, so I won't. She was just on a webinar, like one of these conferences that's going on, and she spoke using our template and our system. She had someone sign up for a discovery call, and she closed and collected a $5,500 check within 48 hours. And she has another $1,500 come in 48 hours after that. So $7,000 off of one speaking gig for her, right? So big check. Second is it can be low cost. We mentioned sponsorships, and I mentioned some that are expensive, but there's a lot of places to speak that are absolutely free. There's webinars, there's seminars, there's so many podcasts today. I saw someone post the worst thing out of Corona is all the new podcasts coming out. But there's so many places. There's Chamber of Commerce, there's businesses. And Victor, you brought up earlier what I call the myth of needing to be a paid speaker. There's not that many businesses that are going to strike you a $3,000 to $10,000 check to come speak. One, they don't know you if you're a new speaker. And 2, like, who's got that budget? But there's a ton of businesses that will let you come in and train their people for free and let you make an offer on the back end. And by businesses, I mean real estate clubs, investment clubs, financial planners, real estate offices, all kinds of business get-togethers, networking things will let you come and speak, and you can lead harvest or make an offer and sell later. So the reason speaking changes your business is it's low cost. So it's high profit, big ticket, low cost. Second, it changes the world. Speaking is where your message can go global and you make a massive, not a minor impact on people's lives. And if you have like a pull to change the world, it's where you do it. And then third, speaking changes you. To be a great speaker requires you to be at your best. And so what it requires is this shirt I'm wearing is actually Dynamic Life. And this one says, be dynamic. And this one says, live dynamic. And so this is our 4-day breakthrough event that we do. And we do like high ropes courses and deep core refreshing work so that people pop on stage. You can't be a great speaker if you can't turn on and be at your best when you're on stage. Showtime is go time. So speaking changes you because it requires you to up your game. And then something really cool happens. Do you know Matt Basak by any chance? You're in the
No.
marketing world. All right. Matt is one of the top internet marketers. Have you ever heard of guerrilla marketing?
Yeah.
So I spoke at Guerrilla Marketing, and because of that one presentation, I got to meet and hang out with all these other thought leaders who were on stage, because speakers hang out with speakers. One of them was Matt Basak, and he invited me to his private mastermind. And so, have you ever heard of JV Zoo?
Sounds familiar.
They do like $500 million a month in sales. Like they're a clearinghouse for products and stuff. You might want to check them out. Actually, we can talk more about it. Anyway, the point is, I have met people who are on the leadership team of that from speaking. So what happens is when you speak, the people who are on stage are typically the thought leaders, the authors, the movers and shakers. And when you're speaking and they're speaking, you meet in the green room and you hang out, and now your sphere of influence changes and you meet speaker to speaker at a peer level. So if you're the average of the 5 you hang around with the most, your 5 goes up. And so through speaking, I've got to meet some of the best top influencers and world leaders that are out there. I met you. I'm here because I was speaking. And so speaking gets you access to a whole new world of achievers you might have never met. So speaking will change your business, it changes the world, and it changes you. It changes your community. It's just, I love it. It's such a great thing.
It definitely is. And then it goes along with a lot of my initial philosophy, you know, like the conversations lead to relationships, and then relationships lead to business, right? Because it's really a one-to-many conversation that you can then take into a more intimate setting. Once they start to, like you mentioned earlier, move through and move a level up through your programs and services, because you're having more intimate conversations and you're having better conversations with those people.
Yeah. And you know, this is why you're going to be a great speaker. And for those of you watching who are like, great speakers are not born, they're trained. And I know how to turn it on and pop on stage. The truth is though, I can be very shy and very quiet. Like there's a lot of time and I'll be hanging out. I can be very introverted. One does not need to be an extrovert to be on stage. And in fact, great speaking, while we say it's a one-to-many presentation, it's simultaneously a bunch of one-to-one conversations. And how we coach people to be on stage is just pretend you're talking to your best friends, and like there's little group, and like you're swapping stories, like I gotta tell you what happened, or you're just talking to your one best friend, you're like, oh my gosh, listen to what happened to me today. That's how I want you to be on stage. And I don't care about gestures or I don't care if you and ah all day long. What I want people to be is authentic and have a conversation with that person in the audience, and then that person, and then that person, because the way our brain works, everyone in your audience will hear it as a one-to-one conversation with them. So we don't have to like put on this group performance. We just have to put on a conversation one-to-one, and then spice it up with some stories and showmanship here and there. And by the way, talk about showmanship. They made a movie called The World's Greatest Showman, not The World's Greatest Content Men. You've got to add a little spice. You got to tell get people laughing and crying. So, but yeah, I just want to take that pressure off, because if people can be great in a one-to-one conversation, then they can just rock a stage. Just be you, turned up a couple of notches.
That's super interesting. To me, that was literally a light bulb change just now, this simultaneous one-to-one conversations. Because I honestly don't know why I've never thought about it like that until right now. Because I tell people all the time, when it comes to like messaging and emailing your list or something like that, like most people come from the perspective of like, yeah, I'm emailing my list. They're like, hey guys, when in reality, what's happening on the other side of that? They're reading it on their phone or on their computer by themselves. It's a one-to-one conversation. So I coach and I teach and I help my clients and myself do this, where we're saying things that are very intimate, like not intimate in like a weird way, but it's very conversational, as if I was talking to one person. Yeah. It's getting sent to hundreds of thousands of people, but it's one person on the other end that's receiving it. And I never thought about speaking that way until you just said that, right? Like on the other end, they're listening from a one-to-one perspective. They're watching you, so you're talking to them directly. I love that.
Thank you. So do you want to know why you didn't get it? Because your gifting and where your thought process is the internet marketing, the email writing. I can write a presentation for someone to get on stage, and it's going to be amazing, and they're going to crush it. And if you ask me to write an email campaign, I'll be like, what? Huh? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
It's the same thing theoretically, because sales is sales, but it's like my gifting is imagining it being said on stage, and they'll be like, oh, well, we'll just put it in an email or a video or a sales letter, like a long, and I'm like, huh? That's not where my brain or my gifting is. So
that's funny. Yeah.
Theoretically, it's the same, but that's why I'm going to come to you when I'm doing my emails and like have your expertise, because that's how your brain's going to track. But now that you've made the connection, you'll jump over, and one day, hopefully, I'll jump over for the email side. But you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. So that, and it's true. Like, and that's exactly why at the beginning I said when we met, like after your presentation or during it, I was just like somewhere in there, I was just like, I'm gonna, like, whatever it is, I need to work with this guy. Awesome. Because like, and that's why I invested, right? And I feel like people get scared when they hear like, oh, here comes the offer, here comes the sale. We have this like trauma, which is a whole other topic in and of itself. But I know we're running out of time here, but that definitely when you hit everything that you've done on stage and you can really master it the way you have, and you help people do that, like that's why I knew, I was like, that is my next step, because I'm over here, I can only do so much more. So I need to go over here as well to be that much more well-rounded. And I think that's what successful businesses do. Like the owners who actually move forward and get better are the ones who continuously invest in themselves on that next step.
Yep. So remember I said that a profitable presentation is compelling content times dynamic delivery times you, and what's in you is magnified on stage. Well, one of the things we teach is how you buy is how you sell. So if someone is a slow buyer, they will be a slow seller. If someone says, and I'll give a very real example here. If someone says in a sales, like they get freaked out about, oh, they're about to sell, they shut down or whatever. Yeah. Well, expect their audience to do, because it's what they do. So one of the things, kudos for you and how you're good at selling, is you're a good buyer. And so one of the things I noticed that I do is, to be perfectly blunt, when this Corona stuff hit, man, I really went sideways a little bit, and I kind of shut down. I was like, oh man. And then have you ever heard of Steven Pressfield by any chance?
Yeah.
If anyone watching is a coach, I think of myself as an artist, and I think as a coach and expert, we are artists in our marketing and in our sales. He wrote a book called The War of Art, not the art of war, The War of Art, which is like I
have do the work from him, and that's what introduced me to the War of Art. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So Steven Pressfield, I get an email saying to join, that he had a mastermind coming out. It had already started, and it was way more than I wanted to spend, but I noticed I was locked down around money. And so I was like, I wasn't selling well because I wasn't buying well. So I made myself buy. Instantly, I got back in the flow of selling. So for instance, on a real visceral reaction, if someone says, I can't afford it, then that's an allowable excuse from them to not get the life they want. Because as entrepreneurs, we can afford or find the money for most anything that's valuable, reasonable to buy, right?
Yep.
So if they say can't afford it, and then they have a sales call, and the person says, I can't afford it, they have to accept that from them because they accept it from themselves. So one of the things we want to do as entrepreneurs who are making offers is look at how can we obliterate our excuses to move our life forward, and then we won't stand for them from our audience. When someone says I can't afford it, we'll look them in the eye and say, the coolest thing just happened. I don't know if we're going too long here, but I just was on a webinar last week. There was a training by a different company, about 115 people on there. I just got choked up thinking about it. And a guy that was leading it for 115 people on a Zoom, doing like a 10-day challenge. One of the guys leading it's named Tony Lister. Tony came through my programs in 2004. And I remember standing at the back table after I spoke, closing Tony on my program. And he's like, I can't afford it, blah, blah, blah. And I coached him and got him through his excuses, and he bought it. And then he came to that program. Then he came to like a $9,000 program. And he went from that to being this huge speaker who made millions of dollars, and he affected lives that now he's got 115 people on a Zoom, and I was learning from him. And a friend of mine, Linda, that lives in Boise, he's touched, and a friend of mine, Monica, that lives in Vegas, he's touched. So like someone whose life I touched 16 years ago is now making a difference for thousands of other people. And it's just,
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have got there if he hadn't gotten past his excuse of I can't afford it. So here's a way to know what excuse you're making. Listen to what excuses your clients are giving you, and then quit making that excuse. So that, to tie all that back up, it goes back to how you said.
Yeah, no, I love it. I know there's a lot more we can go into that. For sure. That's something that definitely hit me hard too. I've heard it several times before. And it really made me like look inward, and I was like, why am I because I used to get a lot of those, like, I can't afford it, or like it's too expensive right now. And I realized once it was told to me enough times, and I was like, oh man, I keep telling that to people, which is, I mean, like, I am a fast buyer now, because it's true. Like I met, like, actually before the call, I was just like, dude, the portal of abundance is open, right? It's just like, you're open to whatever's coming to you. It's coming to you for a reason. I know that can sound woo-woo, and again, like, I don't want to go on this too much, but there's definitely a lot. Yeah, so, but there's definitely a lot to definitely be able to get all that. I know you have, everyone's going to want to know a little bit more about you and how they can get connected with you. So where's somewhere we can go, or something that you have that everyone can get started with?
Here's the fast, easiest thing I'm doing for coaches, authors, experts who really want to explode their sales is I'm offering a discovery sessions. I'm opening up my calendar. So just go to callwithjase.com. It's callwithjase, Jase.com. And what'll happen is you'll see my schedule. You can book a discovery session. Now, once you book, it'll send you a questionnaire to just kind of get a feel for your point A, where you are right now.
Yeah.
And then we'll jump on a call and I'll see where you are, give you some suggestions on where to go and see if it's a fit for us to work together moving forward. We have, I'll just tell you what we're launching. Did I tell you about the world-class speaker coaching, Victor?
No, I don't think so.
It worked out perfect. So we had the wheels in motion to create this before Corona happened. What I'm doing is I'm taking a lot of my best trainings that I've been doing exclusively live, and I'm recording them and putting them onto an online portal. And so we now have a coaching program that's a combination of home-paced self-study with weekly live coaching with me to work on people's presentations. So
yeah.
On the live calls, I'll help them write the presentation. I'm teaching these cutting edge. There's so much psychology in the sales process people have no thought around. And we're teaching people that, how to use language patterns, the structure, the template I created, delivery that I've created, so that they can really rock stages, seminars, and webinars. So callwithjase.com, jump on there. It's absolutely free to get on the call with me. We'll see if it's a fit. Real short questionnaire you fill out before the call as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for coming on today and really dropping all those knowledge bombs for us all. And for me especially, I had that one light bulb. And if nothing else, definitely remember that. Like, you're having simultaneous one-to-one conversations. Just like I talk about all the time when it comes to email and ads and messaging, like, you're talking to one person on the other side, even though you're posting it in front of millions of people.
Yep, exactly.
So head on over to callwithjase.com, Jase, callwithjase.com, to see how Jase can actually help you out. See, he's made an impact. One of the things for me was, like, once I invested in that program, actually a week later, I had an event that I had to speak at, and I was able to get 3 new clients from that. So that in itself, like, was already very valuable for me. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's just like, that was just with 1 week with a small entry program that he had to offer. You know, like, just imagine what that would look like working with him a little bit more long-term, a little bit more intimate, and him really looking into the business and helping me out specifically around what I can do, and what you can do. So head on over to callwithjase.com to get that scheduled so that you can have access to him now, because I know that's definitely probably not going to be on there forever. His time is super valuable, so definitely get on that. And Now, before we finish up here, and if you're serious about generating never-ending leads, head on over to ventobot.com/book to get your free copy of the complete automation strategy, the 4 phases we take our private clients through to generate never-ending leads. That way, you can not only just bring in new people from speaking, but you can also invite other people that are not known to you and turn those invisible prospects visible through ads and paid traffic. Until next time, I'm Victor with Ventobot, and I will see you on another episode. Later.
Bye, guys. Thanks.